Welcome to Wednesdays with Whitney. We are back in action, and today I am here with Amy Evans, who owns Blink Events.
Hi.
Amy, take it away. Tell us about yourself and tell us about Blink.
Sure. I am an event planner here in town. My company is called Blink Events. We focus on corporate and nonprofit event planning. And we help with any amount of work that you might need. So it might be I have clients who want just a very specific part of their event they need help tackling. Sometimes it's the creative, you want to come up with something new and interesting. And sometimes they're like, I don't want to deal with this. Could you please just do it? And so that's where I come into play. So yeah, a lot of different stories, a lot of fun things, all around events.
And Amy and I met probably about 2 years ago now, I would say, at Fem City, because where else do we meet people in Des Moines? But we met, and after that I just started seeing her at events. So I saw you at the Breton Arboretum, June Moon, which is one of my favorites, Polo, I just saw her wandering around working her magic, and I was like, who is this girl? So recently we were able to work together on a job. We did the CFA annual dinner, which is for financial people. So, which is like outside of, well, not really outside your world. You do a ton of corporate planning, so this is right up your alley. But for me, I was like, hi. And I loved when we were in talks with this. So I was kind of on the helping with some marketing for this. And something that I really thought was amazing about Amy is that, you know, it's a whole bunch of financial people, and she's there being like, okay, we need to bring in color. We need to like figure out like how to incorporate the sponsors. And can you talk a little bit about like some of the ideas you brought to the table there?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were at a point where they had the same event from year to year to year, and they were just looking to kind of add a little vibrancy to it, but they didn't quite know how that worked. You know, they wanted to up-level it a little bit, but they weren't sure where to start, what to include. So really, we just brought in some very simple things, just adding a little extra polish. We incorporated their brand quite a bit through colors, through lights, that type of thing. But then we also just up-leveled the presentation itself. We brought in an AV tech to run the show. We kind of made it a little more polished for them, just things that they hadn't seen or thought about before, and so we were able to just up-level it a little bit based on the budget, just slightly, you know, adding a little bit more money into it, the impact that it creates. So that's really what we spent a lot of time doing, knowing that we were kind of building momentum then for 2020 and next year and doing bigger things from there. So,
well, and what I loved witnessing was that, you know, there's a committee. The committee probably could have planned this event, and they were really active, they were very engaged, but having Amy there and watching you kind of go through and say like, okay, love your ideas, I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna execute. So after watching that, Emily and I were like, well, we should plan an open house for brand launch. And if you know anything about Emily and I, we have just short of a million things on our plate, but we wanted it to be spectacular. And so I was like, hey, Amy, what you doing? And so I know, I guess it's probably like right in line with what you're doing normally, but we're a little bit more of that creative realm of like, hey, Amy, just do whatever you want. The first thing she said, we were just talking about having a cocktail hour open house, and she was like, well, why don't you do like some seminars during the day and a coffee and make it a whole thing, because you guys are all about education. And then my mouth just kind of opened and I was like, oh, that's a good point. So can we talk a little bit about, okay, the cocktail hour for the brand launch open house is next Wednesday, 4 to 6:30. Amy's completely in charge of making this thing amazing. Emily and I are just gonna show up and smile. But can you talk about what they can expect and like all the crazy stuff that you're planning for us?
I mean, I'm not going to give away all of the secrets because you got to come and see it for yourself. However, I will say what you will get is a very wonderful, like, pampered experience, which is what it should be about for your attendees anyway. They should be at the forefront of your mind. You should be thinking about constantly, how can I make this experience the best for my attendee, both from a communication standpoint, but then just from an overall experience standpoint. And so what you'll get here is a lot of little details that kind of all work together to create just a whole experience that is representational of not only brand launch, obviously it's their open house, but my brand as well. We're kind of, we're working together and partnering to create just a fun time. So I think you guys will see that. Also, one thing to mention is that we're doing it on a dime. So like we're able to do a lot with our money just by making smart choices or adding in just tiny little enhancements that will make it just a much more enjoyable experience.
Well, and I think when people think of throwing an event, you know, budget's the first thing that comes into question. So like, well, if I hire an event planner, is it gonna cost me more money? And for us, saving time costs less money.
Yeah.
The more time I save, the more time I'm not spending doing something, that's money I'm saving because I'm making it elsewhere. But also you were able to strategize, like you have vendors that you work with all the time that you knew where to go for what and where to buy what.
Yeah.
And so that just lifted dollars off of our budget in the very beginning. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I think that when you find a partnership like that, I was just like, okay, you know exactly what we're looking for, like have a blast.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with events, is something that we jive a lot on, is that an event is a touch point for you. So the more that we can like bring our brand message up in that, and that's something that you did a lot of thinking on for us, is like, okay, how can we make sure that everybody knows about Blink, everybody knows about brand launch, and when they leave here, they're more likely to think about you in a week, a month, a year.
Yep.
Because it's that initial touch point. So let's go back just a little bit to Blink and how this all started.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell us about your origin story.
Okay. So I am from the East Coast originally. I moved out here about 6 years ago from Boston. My husband's job brought us out here. He works for a company, an opportunity opened up. We were just newly married. We were already in transition. And we're New Yorkers, I should tell you. We moved from Boston prior to this. And so getting an opportunity to come out to Iowa, you can imagine what the East Coasters are thinking about that. They're like, what the heck is Iowa? Like, what's going on? Nothing, I'm sure. And so we really had zero expectations, you know, we were like ready for a change. So came out and we're just blown away by the people. Everybody's so sweet and kind and community.
Nice.
I mean, we met friends like immediately and it was like, who are these people? Why are they so nice?
And they're just like bringing us in and we don't have to work for it.
Are they vampires? I did think that. But so then I did interior design in Boston. That's what my background is in. I did the same thing when I first came to Des Moines. I was perfectly happy with my job and where I was at. My company that I was working for was a great company. I just didn't feel like it was the right fit for me. I knew that I needed something more, and I knew I always had loved events. I loved bringing people together. That's part of the fun for me, is just getting groups of people together to experience the same thing together. And so I just started writing a business plan, and then I emerged as an event planner. And I was like, hi, I'm Amy. I'm an event planner. And people are like,
isn't that how we all started
believing me?
Well, and I went to your Christmas party this year.
Yeah.
I walked in, and I was very late to this because I was shooting, so it's like 10:30, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stop by. A few people are gonna be having cocktails. No. Her Christmas party is like a whole thing. It is like an oasis of Christmas. And I'm like, the bar was set up beautifully. There was a ice luge. And I was like, there's an ice luge in the back.
Gotta have
it. There was like a pizza bar of some sort that happened. And I just was like, this girl knows how to throw a party. But I think that just that impulse, you know, in your life of like, I want to bring people together, and something that you said to me a while back was that that's how you make people feel cared for. That's how you express care, is by creating a beautiful event.
Yeah.
And I think that that's when I think about events or getting people all in the same space. I want anybody who's invited to feel like they were supposed to be there and we've thought about them.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is having a really well-planned event.
Yes.
And then you should show your shirt now.
Because events don't plan themselves.
You need to get silent.
I'm too short for this.
We had a height differential problem here because events don't just plan themselves. So if you want to see what we have been up to, you need to come next Wednesday. The brand launch ladies will be here all day. We'll have coffee in the morning. We've got sold out seminars all day, but the cocktail hour is definitely going to be where it's at. There's going to be amazing food, alcohol, like I need to say more there. We will be here. You'll get to see how Amy and Blink runs an event. You'll get to chat with Emily and I, and you should just come out and see us. Some details you can see at the Brand Launch Open House Facebook page. We are in the East Village. It's going to be amazing. Yes. So come on down and see us. We've been planning really hard for really only a month and a half.
Yeah.
But I was on vacation for 2 weeks, as you guys know, and I checked in with Amy, and I was kind of like, where are we? And she's like, oh, I did this and this and this, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I had been gallivanting and not doing anything. So thank you very, very
Yes,
much.
of course. I love it.
And we will see you guys next Wednesday.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.